Okay, we're here with the doctor. Doctor, why have we all gathered here in the Midwest? For what event are we partaking in tonight?
We have good camaraderie, and I think there's something else involved in this whole affair, which has to do with a legendary figure.
A legendary figure who would be?
Mr. Dale.
Hey, do we have a poster to unveil here? Is there a poster that we could unveil for the big event?
No posters.
Oh, you've already wrapped it up? Good work. All right, Kenny. Well, anything you'd like to say to Dale here privately? That this will not be shown at the party tonight, but he will be receiving this as a special gift following the party.
No, I wouldn't want to say anything.
Privately?
I'm here to be positive about everything. And that's,
no, but I mean, you're being positive. He's watching this right now.
Well, of course he is.
And he'd like to hear from you. You're longtime good friends on the lake. Many a good time together.
A lot of that.
You know?
It's part and parcel of who we are and where we've been and what we've done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay.
And it's locker room chatter, and we all know each other.
There's somebody behind you that does not want his face on camera. All right, well, happy birthday to Dale, the big 8-0.
In fact, 8-0, boy, a lot of excellent years under the bridge.
That's right, and more to come.
More.
All right, signing off.
Home.
What? If you can, what do you say?
Find his way home.
What, from Big Sand or from the party tonight?
No, from Big Sand.
Okay.
Every time we went anywhere, he was, because I was always directing where we went, he never did get a road map of where he was.
So we need a GPS system.
That was part of the fun of it, though.
Say good night.
We were here before, yeah, already. We were here twice today already.
Say good night now. You're on a roll. You said you had nothing. You said you had nothing to. He had nothing to say, and suddenly that seems to be coming out. All right. We'll see you. We'll see you in a little while there, Kenny boy.
Okay.
All right.
Why didn't we have a roast? I don't know how Dale would have taken it though.
We gotta get the LaFleurs here, Dad. There you go. Say happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
All right.
Yeah, but I don't know. My watch quit running, so
It's about
Nene, hi Nene. Everyone say happy birthday to Dad.
Happy birthday.
There the Babbises. He's
Happy
not.
birthday to the old goat.
There, hey, yeah. Are you looking in the mirror? This, what are you talking about? I got him speechless.
You're right, Robert. You're right.
Or am I looking in the mirror?
Hi Dale, happy 80th birthday. You're still 10 years older than I am.
Hello?
Hi Dale, happy 80th. Remember when we went to Arno's 80th?
Yeah.
That was a long time ago, and I remember Ginny was there. And anyway, I want to wish you a real happy birthday.
Okay, guys, you're on. It's your turn to say hello to the big guy and wish him a happy birthday. I think he might know who you are.
You think he might?
I think he might.
Maybe he stopped off at a French restaurant on the way.
He may have. We've lost him, it seems, but before he gets here.
I just saw him a year ago.
Okay.
You did?
And what event was that?
I came over here for a wedding of my brother's grandson, and we had the reception at the window.
Okay, and you saw him then, because I saw a picture of that when he got together with you then.
Yeah.
But you always got to look in the camera here now and wish him a happy birthday.
All right, Dale, we wish you a happy birthday.
And hurry up and get here.
And many more.
Still 65, didn't you? In Yorkville, yes.
Here are the Luces. Gonna wish Dad a happy birthday.
Robert.
Wish Dale a happy birthday. Here you go. It's your,
Happy birthday, old man.
all right. Kenny boy.
Yes, sir. Happy birthday.
Oh,
Happy birthday, Dale.
okay.
Happy birthday, Dad.
Okay.
We're trying hard to catch up. We just can't seem to do it.
Hello. Oh.
Please, he's a friend of Dale.
Okay, Jack. You got to say hello to Dale and wish him a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Dale. I've known you for 50 years.
What are any memories of Dad here you want to share? One fond thought?
We had a lot of lunches together at Joe Vaughn's.
Okay, you're one of the guys at Jovan's. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't belong to the Poet Society, did you?
No.
You were one of the poets, were you?
No, no.
We're not going to get into that tonight. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Hello to Dale here and wish him a happy birthday there, Mr.
Happy
Jablinowski.
birthday, Dale.
All right.
Wonderful evening this evening. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. You'll be a little bit surprised, I'm sure.
I think so. Say hello to Dale on the camera here.
Hello, Dale. Happy birthday.
Anything you want to say to him?
Well,
A great memory of flying with Dale?
Dale is the first best pilot ever flew with.
All right. The most thorough.
Yes, very efficient.
That's right. All right.
Should I park out by 59 where we live?
Hello. Oh, come on. Who's this young lady? Can you introduce us to your friend?
This is my friend Riley.
Hello, Riley. Welcome to the party.
Hey, John. Where we live.
Out of here. Who's this guy? Who is that guy? Oh, I see.
How about you zoom in on the good picture?
What if you have an
I do remember.
Dad, you got to wish him a happy. One at a time here, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
This is the Merry. Who said Merry Christmas?
I did.
All right.
Another 80 years.
Another 80 years.
Right, and I want to be there to check him out.
You're going to check him out?
I want to be there to check him out.
Okay. Well, thanks for stopping by tonight. Wait a second, David. You got to wish Dale happy birthday in the video.
Okay, happy birthday, Dale.
Anything you'd like to say to Dale on his big 8-0 birthday?
8-0. It's been great working for you for the last 4 years, and congratulations, and happy birthday.
All right. And who? Here we go, Tara. You want to say hello to Grandpa?
Hi, Grandpa. Love you. Happy birthday.
And many more.
Okay.
The first granddaughter.
Okay.
They were worried about your head, Tara. For some reason, Tim's decided he's going to work the party tonight. Hi, Tim. He does, of course. You got it under control back there, Timmy? All right. Hey, Dad. I just talked to you. Oh, of course you did.
Happy birthday, Dale. How you doing? Happy birthday, old man.
I gotta come up here and wish you a happy birthday too, Dale. Yeah, I stopped over there to get a duck. I thought you might have shot
Hi, Dale. Lots of things.
Hello there, sir. Happy birthday. You remember Ben?
All right.
Keep going, yeah.
Happy birthday, young man. Happy birthday. Pleasure to see you. So surprised?
Happy birthday. And when are we going flying? Okay, that's a promise. Thank you.
I hope he was totally surprised.
He's got the best list. He's got the best list. He's got a list. It's always. It's all unbelievable. You're funny. You're cracking me up. That's his secretary. That was his secretary for 25 years. Yeah. Or longer.
Yes, it was for many, many years. I think I gave him heart attacks most of the time. Well, that's nice. That's a good thing.
Going well.
But I stopped in Coshocton on the way.
Stopped in Coshocton on the way.
Everybody has to stop pilot, yeah.
My wife Gary Reed. Dick Bartle. I have to have my Coshocton. He flew down to
Blame it on Tammy. Blame it on the kids.
Bonnie's trying So you didn't know anything?
And Tammy was also saying that you were a person that does not
Dad?
like surprises like this.
Dad? Somebody.
You're only a kid. I'm 84. You're only a kid. Is that Luann?
That's Luann. Happy birthday. Wait, is it actually today?
How about a picture with Dale?
Oh my goodness. I love that.
Happy Right between them.
No. We were told we had to keep it quiet.
That was the word. They did.
Surprise.
Yeah, Tammy.
Doctor.
You and Bob.
Two doctors. We got the doctor of fishing and the medical doctor. Of who? Okay. 1 second. Let's get these two old buddies.
That's my brother there. Two of them is here.
Oh, is that was the relationship?
They're brothers, Tara. Yeah.
That was in your backyard in Normal.
In Normal, yeah.
On her birthday.
Right. Right. Well, it started with you as a little boy. We're in the middle kind of
Yeah,
now.
it starts out with you right away.
Yes, Mr. King, 11 o'clock.
Oh, is there a gym? Okay. I'm doing pretty good. He's 3 weeks older than you are.
Did you, Dale? I think you could smile, Dale. Come on, Dale. I want to hear.
Say a smile, come on.
There you go.
That's a good likeness. You guys just went away.
I just love having them. Brightens our day when they come in. It really does.
Well, thank you.
Now I gotta go back to work.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Dale. Happy birthday to you. And many more.
Wow, you're
Well, I went to Elmhurst College, and then I graduated from Loyola University. Yeah. But I had a little bit of time at Harper College as well. So I went to 3 schools.
How did you make it?
Right, I made it.
Now, what did you graduate with?
I graduated with a bachelor's degree in theater, a BA, Bachelor's of Arts in Theater.
Officially, and hope you enjoyed dinner. Unofficially too, Unky, thank you very much. First of all, our entire family would like to welcome you and thank you. We have a lot of people that came from a long distance. We're here as far away as Canada, South Carolina, Texas, and we wanted to take a few minutes, my brother and sister and I, to honor our father. Oftentimes, I think we'd all agree that we fail to tell the people we love the most what they mean to us, and we let opportunities pass us by. But tonight, we wanted to celebrate a milestone in Dad's life, the life of a great man, and make certain that he knows and feels in this room just how much he means to all of us. There's one person here tonight, and only one person, that can speak with any authority about Dad's earliest days, and that would be his brother Bob. And Bob helped me fill in a lot of the following details.
You don't want to know.
Yeah. And I told him to be really nice. And he was. He was a great help. Dale Edgar King was born January 27th, 1927. And he was the firstborn son of Mabel and Arthur King of Flanagan, Illinois. He was born, though, in Pontiac, according to Bob, at St. James Hospital, right, Dad? That's right. And his mom had to take the train to Tiny Flanagan, or from Flanagan to Pontiac, to stay with friends, because back in those days she was afraid that with the bad weather in January, she might not be able to pass the roads with Art for the 12-mile trip to the hospital. So sometime before the birth, she went to stay with friends in Bloomington. Now, Dad loves to remind us of how things have changed. So, in honor of Dad, we will talk about the year 1927 for a moment. In the year 1927, a new hot ride, brand new car was $475. A new house sold for a little over $7,600. A gallon of gas, as he likes to remind us, was a dime. A loaf of bread was 9 cents. The annual income was not even $1,400 annually, and the Dow Jones, Dad, 202 points. Not a good picture there. A Model A Ford sold for $385 that year. In sports, for any sports enthusiasts in the room, Comiskey Park was a brand new stadium, the old Comiskey Park, and Babe Ruth hit the first home run ever out of Comiskey that year. Babe Ruth also set the record for 60 home runs that season. Lou Gehrig was elected the MVP. The first flight arrived nonstop, of course, from LA to Hawaii in 1927. Dad became, very aware of that some years later. And Charles Lindbergh crossed the Atlantic in 1927. I think all that's pretty accurate. If not, blame Google. Dad was an only child for 4 years.
3 years, 10 months.
But who's counting?
Yeah, who's counting? Thank you, Bob. Until his younger brother Bob was born. The family lived in Flanagan until about 1936, when they moved to DeKalb, not too far from you, as a matter of fact. Their father had taken a job in DeKalb, it seems. Through a relative, he got a job with Montgomery Wards. They had barely unpacked from this move when Art was transferred to another Monkey Wards location in Elwood, Indiana. So just a few months later, the family was on the move once again. Now, Bob tells me that while in Elwood, Dad became employed for the very first time. Do you remember the first job, Dad? Newspaper, that's right. Well, it was the Montgomery Wards flyer that was sent out, and it seems that you took the flyers and folded them with the help, and Bob made sure I knew that he had helped you fold the flyers, and then loaded them up on your bicycle and delivered them all over town. And what were you paid for that, Dad, monthly? $10. Very good. Very good. It seems that Dad was also involved in agriculture while in Elwood. He had a job picking tomatoes for a local factory, and Bob recalls that Dad literally came home from the job green, not from the money he was making, but from the tomato plants. In 1940, one final move saw the King family headed very, very close nearby to Downers Grove. His father's first cousin, Biff Bothman, had hired Art to work at Bothman Motors in Downers Grove as the parts manager. Did I get that right? Okay. While in Downers, Dad's first job was a clerk for the local department store. And during the war, Dad worked at Oliver Tool Company. You remember that job, Dad?
Oh, yes.
You had a little incident there while you were at Oliver Tool Company, and I want to pause here for a second to maybe, do you remember what the incident was?
Well, I made a mistake on a drawing, and we ended up with 5,000 parts that were too long.
Well, what were these parts? You ran the automatic screwdriver
Well, these
maker,
were
right?
depth bombs.
Well, they were what?
These were detonators for depth bombs.
Oh, it can't be too long.
Well, according to Bob and to Dad, I think they were off by a 1/16 of an inch. So his boss had ordered Dad to file down each screw.
How many?
5,000. 5,000 screws. So I guess Dad just, let's see, you were the automatic screw machine operator, is that right? Dad screwed up the job, no problem. Bob also recalls that Dad was an excellent student, and I think that all of us can very, very much recall Grandmother King would always brag about Dad, how good a student Dale was. My Dale was a wonderful student. Your father's so smart, Robbie. His mother also gave Dad piano lessons at about the age of 8. He was coming along pretty good with the music, but his friends called him a sissy for playing the piano, so Dad gave it up, and Mabel King was not very happy about that at all. But music, I think, has always been one of Dad's passions, and I think he passed that love of music on to all of us, and I do recall many a night after he got his fancy new stereo system installed in Glen Ellen that Mom was on him about blasting the stereo so loud while the children were trying to sleep. Do you recall that, Dad?
Oh, we do.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, the walls would be shaking. When I asked his brother Bob what single word he might use to describe Dale, he didn't think very long before he said loyal. And I think all of us would have to agree that Dad's probably the single most loyal person you've ever met. Dad was raised in a Christian home by parents who taught him to love the Lord. In Dad's house, there was always a right way and a wrong way to do things. There was very little gray area. He was given a path to follow, and he followed it, and he listened. Dad has served the Lord well all these many years, and along with our mom, they both showed us that there's no greater love than the love the Lord has for us. And I personally want to thank him for all those years and the example that he set. Dad's enjoyed many hobbies in his 80 years. He's been a pilot for over 48 years, and we're honored to have John here with us tonight, who flew with him all those many years. Dad still has a real passion for aviation to this day. And Dad loves to fish. As the many pictures you see on the tables here, on the board behind me, will attest to.
Right one of these years too.
You'll get it right. That's right. We believe that Dad, and I think his good friend Ken Stone would have to agree, should have partial citizenship by now in Canada for all the time he spent there on the lakes that he loves so much. And I think that other than his home in Glen Ellen, or a beautiful island in Hawaii where he's about to head off again, and we're pretty jealous about that, there's probably no other place that he'd rather spend time in than Canada. If you don't find him on his Muskie Express boat, you might find him relaxing beneath a tree on some island and telling us all just how beautiful he thinks it is. And we have movies of Mom and Dad up in Canada going back to the early 50s, up at Georgie's camp, right, Dad? Where exactly was Georgie's?
A little bit east of Kenora.
Okay.
Dryden.
The roads were really good then, weren't they?
Not so good.
Not so good, no. Speaking of movies, Dad has always loved photography. He has a collection of equipment that's pretty impressive still to this day by anybody's standards. And we used to tease him, as I think other people did, that he was, you remember what your name was?
Cecil.
Cecil B. DeMille, for his direction behind a 16mm camera. Now today, of course, with our video cameras that fit in the palm of your hand, it's not uncommon for our lives and the lives of our children to be so documented on video. But really that wasn't the case when we were kids growing up. Not at all. But thanks to Dad and his incredible organization skill, that the life of our family has been so well chronicled, not only for us, but to pass on to our children. Every party, every family gathering, vacations, and thanks to my sister, she recently took all those movies and put them onto DVD so we could save them for many, many more years. We consider ourselves to be fortunate. It wasn't until later in life, I think, that we fully understood how much we had as children and how blessed we are to this day. Not just because of the home that we grew up in or that all that was provided to us, but because of the parents that we had and the father that we still have today, and how they raised us and what they taught us and how much they cared for all three of us. My dad was home every night, like clockwork. We'd hear the garage door open about 6:30 every night, run in from the TV. We ate dinner together nearly every night at that table in Glen Ellen. Dad wasn't the type to be out with the boys late at night, although I have heard some mighty, mighty good stories years later about long, long lunches, right, George? With clients, co-workers, etc. during his long tenure at Airtex Airtight. One that comes to mind is a membership in the Poet Society. Poet stands for something other than poetry, and we will save that for later, maybe. But there are a lot of children today that could benefit from the type of character that my dad shows us. He did homework with us. He helped put us to bed. My earliest memories are being carried on his shoulders down the hallway to bed each night. He brushed our teeth, read Bible stories to us, and prayed with us every night. And most often, if he wasn't at home, it was because of his involvement with different church activities and meetings.
Did he recite Chaucer to you?
Yes, well, he did occasionally recite Chaucer, and we may have him do that here in a few minutes. But you'd have to say, again, and agree that Dad's a rock. We kid him now for his lack of liking change or always doing things the same way. But in our lives, I think we've benefited greatly from this trait. How many 47-year-old men can really still go home? And I mean go home to the place where they have all the memories. And so every trip back to Glen Ellen for me personally is unbelievable. The place can speak to you. Dad has poured so much passion and energy into that home. He took a field and turned it into a beautiful forest that still turns heads driving down Stanton Road. And I think David can attest to that and all the hours he's spent on that. It's unbelievable what he's done there. Dad taught all three of us the value of hard work. As kids, we were sometimes jealous of friends who down the street maybe got an allowance for just being born in the right family or living in the big house, but Dad never believed in that system. We grunted and groaned over the chores and working out in the yard and being paid by the hour. Dad even made us ask for raises each year to tell him why we thought we were worthy of being paid a little bit more money. It was Dad who taught us how to handle money, not to worship it, but to earn it and how to appreciate it. Dad practiced what he preached. He worked hard and went a long way from that first $10 a month job to the night he came home and we found a memo that announced he'd been named president of Airtex Airtight. He didn't brag about it or come skipping in the door. He merely put the memo down on the counter and sat down to eat with us. My experience with Dad, and I think most of you would agree again, is that he's not a boastful person. He could be. Okay, Ken, you probably would say, and when it comes to fishing, he could brag with the best of any angler. And he has
that was Zunke, that wasn't.
Oh, that was Unky, okay. I think he's got the trophy fish, as does Unky, to back up the boastfulness there. But most of us would have to agree that Dad is a humble man who lets his hard work, his actions, and his ethics speak for him. This man is all about consistency. As a child, a student, husband, father, employee, boss, his service to his church in Downers Grove for over 60 years, his loyalty and love to my mother, to Joey, and now to Vonnie. If Dad makes a commitment, Dad keeps a commitment. I can think of many times in my father's life that he faced situations that many would walk away from, but Dad never did. He stayed the course. Dad might be old school, where you sometimes wish you knew a little bit more about what he was thinking, or could get him to share just a little bit more, but you never do doubt his devotion and love for you. Now this will be my only personal story about Dad, and then maybe in a few minutes any of you that have anything you'd like to add can feel free to do so. But I remember a time when my mom was very sick, and Dad was down at the hospital in Houston, and Dad was still working back then and was commuting back and forth during the time that she was in her treatments. That was back in the time that I was in Houston working radio and television, and I had been featured in my college alumni magazine back at North Central about my career. And Dad asked me if I received my copy of that article, and I said yes, but I was a little taken back and surprised that Dad didn't comment any further about the article. Well, I chalked this up to the situation that he was currently in and his concern for my mom and the fact that he'd just flown back from Texas and might be a little tired. And days later, when he had gone back to Chicago to go to work and I was alone with Mom, I shared that story with her. And she said, "Robert, your dad is so proud of you. He ordered about 50 extra copies of that magazine so he could share it with his friends and coworkers." That's just the way Dad is. My father has given all three of us so much. He never cursed us, he never hit us, he never walked out or led us in the wrong direction. He's given us a firm foundation to build a great future on as Christian adults, parents, and entrepreneurs. We had so much as children, and still have so much today. We have such a wonderful role model that our highest goals, I think, as parents, is to at least try to match that for our children, from the homes we live in to what we teach our children and let them know in words and actions that we'll be there for them. So thank you, Dad, for all that you've been able to do for us. And you know, oftentimes in life they say that in generations mistakes are repeated. Bad things are repeated by, you know, the next generation. Then I believe so must the good things. So thank you, Dad, for all the good that you have passed on to us and continue to pass on. I love you, Dad. All three of us love you very much. And I think we just wanted to take this time to publicly thank you for everything that you've done for us, and everyone in this room would just like to wish you a very, very happy birthday, and we hope that when you leave here tonight, you'll leave here feeling the warmth, feeling blessed that so many people care so much about you, and happy birthday. I want to introduce one of my dad's best friends.
He should leave now.
For those of you who do not know Ken Stunnell has owned and operated a camp in Moonachie, Sunset Inn, since 1983, and Dad has had many wonderful years there, and Ken is not only the operator of the camp, but one of our best friends in the family, so Ken Stunnell.
Well, thanks. Thanks. And I didn't know all those wonderful things about Dale. Steve knew I was coming down here. He said, "No, you don't need to dress up or wear it." We're not all like this up north, you know.
He's right.
Anyway, this is a time for a little levity here, and I think people might have a few stories here and there too. But Dale had the nickname of Yellowbird. Now, I don't know where that came from at first until I realized that he used to wear these little yellow caps all the time. But it went beyond that. The boat was yellow. And to this day, I think that might have been part of the reason why the yellow took hold. The shirts were yellow, the sweat tops were yellow, the rain gear was yellow. But you know what? It was an enigmatic, eccentric factor of him, but it worked. And it wasn't a baseball cap, that's the thing. It was one of those caps, you remember in the 30s and everybody jumped trains, you know, it was one of those types of things. It was yellow. And the interesting thing about it is the only guy that could actually make it look very regal. There was something about that. He'd almost turn that cap into something that was Gatsby-esque. It was always stunning when he'd do that. So he was royalty all the way, and I enjoyed so much of that. And he used to have these, we were out fishing so much, there were other groups that used to come up at the same time. The Birminghams and the Goldmans, and they had a lot of good camaraderie. We'd meet them out on the water, you know, and he had this term in yellow. He'd say, "How's it fishing, Dale?" He'd go, "They're all over town, cabby." I never knew what that meant. It was a New York cab song. That was a famous expression. And then the other thing that was interesting with Dale is he had quite a singing voice, but it only came about when he had a fish on, because the reel has a drag. And when the fish is pulling harder than you can reel in, it goes, see, he'd burst into song. Right? Oh, and I'd reel it. And we'd go through that whole thing. And some of those fights were just interminable. They would go on forever.
3 hours long.
3 hours long. Wasn't that a great story? The one that we drew a crowd around. This fish went on forever. And oh my goodness, it was a battle royale. This was the Old Man in the Sea story. You know? And it turned out to be about a 30-inch northern pike. And there were other boats waiting around, and we all missed lunch and everything. Holding him up. It was an incredible day. Yeah, we were all on the same boat there, remember that? Actually, Nene had a good one last year too. We all had to hold her up for a while. And this was a muskie, and they'll sometimes hit a walleye on the way up, so I got to tell this story. It was pretty good. This time we were just getting back at Dale and that, because we must have taken at least half an hour with this fight. But I knew we'd be disappointed because a muskie would spit it out at some point before it reached the top. So I was saying, "Gee, Nene, this is going to be too bad because this is a great fish down there." Well, sure enough, it did, and there's a fish sitting out there, but chewed up a bit. And suddenly the muskie did a curtain call. It just came up and swam around the fish, and we all gave it a big hand. It took a bow. And did it twice. So that was pretty neat. Let's see what else. Well, I always enjoyed the repartee with Dale and Hucky in the boat. And it's ongoing. And
Was it Grumpy Old Men?
yeah, a little bit of that. Yeah. But it was the way Dale would react to things, you know, because Unky, sometime if you ever lost a fish, he'd go, "Oh, Scheichhausen," you know. And there'd be this silence, you see. And then Dale would say, "Unky," he'd say, "I think you may need a little instruction." And that was typical all day. So that was good. But I got to go back further. I've got to go back to when Steve and I were in the back of the boat with him all the time. We went muskie fishing. And Dale was quite a muskie fisherman. And that was the days before Muskie Hunter magazine and all the excitement of this fish. And we were pretty new at it. And Dale would sit up in the front, up in the bow, just like he's up in this royal throne up there. You know? And we're in the back, running the boat and everything. And you'd cast for them, you see. And so the tactic was, as far as Steve and I, we thought we were the leading edge of this fishing, you see. So we were rip the lures. And we'd rip them in hard, and we'd change lures. And he's up in the front with this one lure, this Slim Jim. And he'd just sort of heave it out there nicely, you know, and it would splash in the water. He'd take a minute just to settle himself, and things already sunk halfway down. He starts reeling in real slow. And he'd be catching all the fish, right? And the more he'd do it this way and be so slow on the retrieve, the faster we'd go. We were so frustrated. And the payoff of that one trip, we went all the way around this big sand. There's sand beach. We're going to hit sand beaches and reefs. And we caught at least 10 fish that were over 10 pounds, between 10 and 20 pounds that day. And I think he caught them all.
Oh, yeah.
And they're up somewhere 20 pounds, so we're battling these fish all day. And he's catching them just with his little wimpy retrieve, you know. But it worked. So he's a master of the game. And I want to say, let's see, what else do we want to mention here? Al's Hole. I have to mention this because for 25 years, it was my duty to avoid hitting a rock. I could be forgiven for anything else except hitting a rock, okay? So, and there were many a time that I would say, "Oh my God, we just missed that thing, but you didn't see it." Yes. If I get through this little chain of rocks here, I'll be good for the rest of my life. And so, lo and behold, this is a few years back now, but this one spot was particularly dangerous. We always knew it. So, are we anywhere near Al's Hole right now? Well, yeah, we're not too far away, but it's okay. Don't worry about it. We're good here. And it was a place where the reef would jump around, and you weren't too sure just where it stopped and ended. And we hit it. And he's got about $1 million prop on it. And there was this sudden shock of hitting. It must have been when the Titanic hit the iceberg. Nobody quite realized what had happened for a second. Did we just hit something? No. Oh, yes, we did. And now we had to make it all the way back. We were at the far end of this big sand. We were about 12 miles away from camp with the little motor. Well, that was the coldest, most silent, most horrendous trip I've ever made. And then when we filled the motor up, it looked like a flower, just all splayed out and paddled for him, you know.
I think he's forgiven you, Ken.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm just saying. He's the only guy that would ever forgive that, I'm sure, and I always appreciate the fact that we still fished again after that. Still enjoy some good times together. So I didn't know if anybody else had got any more crazy stories about him.
Well,
but,
I think Bonnie has it. Well, did you want to speak?
Thank you, Ken.
You want to speak
I'll sit
later?
down.
Thank you,
Well, here's Mr. 3 years and 10 months himself.
I'll just tell a couple of quick stories when Dale was very, very young, even before I was born. It was related to me by him and by his mother. When Dale was about 3 years of age, we lived in Flanagan. Flanagan is a poke and plum town where you poke your head out of the window and you're plumb out of town. Anyway, we had a neighbor called Johnny Dewis. And Johnny Dewis's father had just gotten a brand new car. And it was parked in the driveway with the keys in the ignition. My mother was pregnant with me at the time. So Johnny says to Dale, and Johnny's a little bit older than Dale. I don't know, what was he, 4 or 5 years older?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And he says, Dale, let's go for a ride. So Dale must be about 3 at the time. And he says, okay. So Johnny gets in the driver's side, Dale gets in the passenger side. He says, now, when I start the engine, you pull this thing out here. Well, this thing out here was the hand throttle. So Johnny starts the car, and I don't know how he got it started. Anyway, it was moving once he got it started. Johnny jumps out of the car. Here's Dale in the car, pulling on the throttle in the driveway, heading right for the garage. But fortunately, the car veered off and hit the corner of the house, and Dale hit his head on the dashboard. And the neighbor's daughter came over. Dale came over to mother. Dale's bleeding to death. And the mother goes outside, and here comes Dale on the side of the house, blood just streaming down his face. Well, he to this day he still got the scar on his forehead.
He's a little better driver now. Just a little
bit.
Well, I won't go there on that one.
Oh man, tough crime.
Anyway, one other little story. When I was young, probably about 2 years of age, we lived in Flanagan, and Dad had, I think, built this house for about $5,000. A nice stucco house with quarter slowed oak trim and everything. And we're upstairs in the attic playing, and on the floor was an empty light bulb socket with a pull chain. So my loving brother says to me, he says, Bob, put your finger in there and I'll pull the chain. To this day, I can still feel that shock when he pulled the chain. And you think he apologized? No way. He got mad at me because I told Mother about it.
Well, I don't like talking in public, but I'll just share a little comical story, but it does turn very nice at the end. I was married to Eric in '83 in July, and about 4 weeks later we found out we were pregnant. So, we said, you know what? I don't think we're going to tell Mom and Dad for a bit. We'll just hold off a little bit. So, because we really hadn't decided where we're living and all that. So, no. So we finally settled in Bloomington, Illinois. And then I said, well, we should tell Mom and Dad, they're going to be grandparents. So we did go ahead and tell them. And, they seemed happy. They seemed to think that was okay. However, Dad didn't tell a soul at work. He didn't tell one person. We're like, what's up with that, Mom? Well, I don't know, Tammy. I just don't know. Well, I come to find out later, he wanted to see when Tara was born. He wanted to make sure, and I have to thank Tara to this day for not being early. We don't know what might have happened had she been born a few weeks early, but he did walk into work, I think she was born on a Good Friday, so he went into work on Monday with a box of candy to announce that he was a grandfather, and everyone seemed a bit surprised that he was a grandfather. So, and we'll turn it around a little bit. After Tara was born, make it nice. I struggled with going back to work, and I said, I couldn't find someone I felt comfortable with leaving Tara with, and I'm like, Eric, I just can't tell Dad that I don't want to go back to work. Here he's putting me through college, and now I want to just stay home.